Hey guys, we know it's been a while, but they are back. DJ Jordan and Love Dorsey of Relax and Take Notes podcasts. They have come to bring you fresh new content, and you guys already know when these two link up, they are bringing gems for the community to push them forward into a better direction of life. We want you to be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and please enjoy the episode.
What's good, family? We back. DJ
Yes, we
Jordan,
here.
Love Dorsey. We back at it. We know it's been a minute. It's shit. It's been almost a year.
Right. But listen, it's the topic's still real, they still heavy, they still necessary.
and black people still going through it. You know,
Right. Right.
you know. And look, I say this all the time. Look, the world is on fire, and we as black people, we still trying to figure out how to get along.
Yep. Yep. So many bigger issues to get to.
Yeah, for real, for real. But we gonna grow our audience for real as we, what I'm saying, engage in this robust dialogue. But just so that the audience knows how you been, what you been up to.
Man, so many things are going on. One of the biggest things is me kind of reconstructing my show with my live audience, or
Mm-hmm.
my show that is able to be seen live, where you can be in the audience. Also, I got something big in the works. I have my cafe that's opening. That's a big deal to me because it's incorporating my love for literacy for our people and just educating yourself. So I got that coming in, and I got, so many other online things that are coming. I'm excited. I've been in the background working, like, they ain't seen us in a minute, but the
Right.
work been being put in. What about you?
Likewise, just we moved the studio inside the house, like I was telling you. This is our first virtual session with you, and I'm excited. Raising
Yeah.
children, taking care of family, building businesses.
Yes.
Working to be the positive black man in the community, you know what I'm
Come
saying?
on.
And still speaking truth to our hard-headed brothers, trying to
Yep.
get them on. No, I ain't gonna say trying to get them on track, getting them on track.
Get them on track. I
Yeah,
love that.
because
All
we've
that's
been having a
major.
lot of good progress with the young kings. So
I
now
love
we
that.
definitely out here working.
I gotta give you your flowers for that. I love that. I love to see black men putting in work on other black men. I
That's
feel
what's
like
up.
our culture needs to hear and see that so much, especially for us as women, so that
Hmm.
we don't think that men are not holding men accountable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with that being said, we got an excellent conversation coming up. And just let me ask you this, because I always start off with the question, right?
Yep.
And so when we're talking about the things that tend to affect our community in a negative way, right? How do you differentiate the things that you listen to online from the gossip or the instigative news from what's really pertinent and what we need to know as a community?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I think it starts on a deeper level. And I
Mhm.
always go back to upbringing because that's a big thing for me, especially because I really dive into the psychology of a lot of our behavior, right? So for me, if you don't have certain understandings about spirituality and having a sound sense of self, you won't realize what affects you in a negative way. Some
Right.
stuff will be like, oh man, that's just a song, or everybody looking at that video, or that content going viral. I'm just watching what they watching. And you will really program yourself into a space as an adult, believing that things don't affect you, all while being heavily affected. So I think at the start of whether you can decipher if something is positive or negative, just at first look, you got to kind
Mhm.
of know what affects you in what ways, what has the ability to penetrate deep. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Because it
So
affects men and women different. I'm sure you
if,
know that. And also culturally, there's a difference as far as what affects us. It's just like with hip hop and music. A lot of times we like to think we're just listening to a song, but after a while, your behavior, your character, your thinking starts to depict the things, the lines that you're reciting in the songs, like rituals.
that's interesting you say that, because a lot of us, I'm sure, we when we log on to social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, or what have you, we probably don't ask ourselves, is the content that I'm looking at and listening to, is it helping me or hurting me? In other
Come
words,
on,
is it bringing me closer to my goals, or
come
is
on.
it just a distraction?
Come on. And this is why I say at the root before we even say, okay, this particular type of content is bad and this is good. You really got to ask yourself, with the person that I'm trying to grow out of, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is that person attracted to? Because see, when you know where you come from with your demons, so to speak, or with your fleshly attractions, you
Right.
know what's bad for you that might be good for somebody else, or it might not
Mm-hmm.
affect them in the ways that it affects you. Like, you know, when you look at the algorithm, a lot of the um sex sales content is being
Mm-hmm.
pushed. It's being pushed.
Absolutely.
It's being pushed.
Yeah.
So if you take somebody that has a history of struggling with being faithful in monogamous relationships, or you know, they're going through that aspect of taking themselves out of the porn space, or
Mm-hmm.
being in a space where I'm really trying to stay focused on my goals and get off the party scene and stop just moving based on a temporary emotion. A lot of those things can work against them. And so they need to set their social medias up, their YouTube or whatever it is that they watch, where the content that comes up is intentional.
It's intent. And you know, that's so interesting you say that, because I watch a lot of geopolitical stuff, you know, a lot of finance, different platforms on YouTube or channels or whatnot. And I remember clicking on something that was low vibrational. I'll say it
Mhm,
like that. Love,
mhm.
it changed the entire flow of the algorithm on my YouTube.
Yeah.
It probably took me 2 to 3 weeks to filter through all of the bullshit, and it just came by way of
Yes.
one video. And I
Yes.
know 80% of what I watch is positive, healthy content, but that one click introduced a whole nother thing to my algorithm. And
I,
even though I
man,
was
listen,
skipping it,
I
I was
DJ,
like,
I
what the
love.
hell are they trying to do?
I love that you're saying this, because a lot of us, even when we look at the youth, we put these tablets and these devices in their hand and
Mm-hmm.
we allow them to get on social media, or even if you ain't give them permission, we know they're getting
They
access
getting
to it.
on it.
And
Right.
we don't take the time to explain what you just said. The algorithm feeds you what it believes that you're interested in, just to keep you on the app longer. Not even too
Wow.
much deeper than that, just with what I'm explaining right now. And so, like you said, if I watch a twerking video a little bit too long, or you know, once you get past that 3-4 second mark, you just told the algorithm I'm interested in that content. And
Give me
so when you
more.
don't realize that, like you said, now you done invited all that stuff of the same context into your device without saying, hey, I want to see more than this, or more of this, excuse me. And with that same token, when you think about it, now you can intentionally spend longer amounts of time, excuse me, looking at the content that you should receive more
That
of.
you should
So it can
receive.
work in your favor when you know how to work it.
It can work in your favor when you know how to work it. And so, in other words, our feeds and what's trending on our timeline is truly a reflection of where
Come
our
on.
consciousness is,
Yep,
right?
100%. And I'm gonna tell you, because right now I'm on a health and fitness, like, I don't even want to say journey, because I've been on that, but I'm on like
Mm-hmm.
a almost like a higher level. Like, I turned up a little bit more. So I'm in a calorie deficit. I'm really tightening my diet down even more than what it was. And so I make it a point when I get on social media to spend excessive amounts of time. And when I say excess, what I mean is I watch a reel that's on certain exercises or certain diet changes
Mm-hmm.
3 and 4 times, just so the algorithm can pick up that,
Pick
oh,
up.
she want to see this kind of content. Like, because I'm hip to it, I make my feed show me more of what I want to feed myself. And so it's working beautifully to where I can say that technology and my device, and even me being on social media, is pushing me towards my goals. So when I log into my Instagram, for example, I'm seeing workout videos. I'm seeing, you know, how much protein intake you're supposed to receive in every day, how to sandwich your exercises in between meals, you know, just all kind of stuff that just talks about what the
Mhm.
body needs. Everything that helps me kind of push forward in another gear on the journey I'm already on.
It's interesting because it was a time like with my wife, if her um account is on the TV, I immediately know that it's her stuff and not mine,
Yeah.
because she watch a lot of spiritual things, a lot of
Yes.
meditative things on, like you say, a higher vibrational level. Not that but I'm more political. I'm more
Yep.
political, right?
Yeah.
So when I start seeing certain channels popping up on the screen, I don't even have to look at the icon in the top
Well,
left
you
hand
know
corner.
this her
I already
account.
know it's her channel. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And so, to your point, the algorithm is going to be tailor made to fit each individual.
Yep. Yep. And I think a lot of people they really not educated on this. It's a simple
Mhm.
fact. It's not debatable. It is what happens when you get on. I'm talking about anything, even just your browser. If you got an iPhone, you get on Safari, or you working off a different device. When you get on your
Mhm.
internet, as you go to different websites and look up stuff, like you could look up a kitchen appliance. Next thing you know, when you log into your social medias on that same device, it's going to start sending you ads about that particular kitchen appliance that you Google. And when you understand this, you just realize, like you said, I really could make my device match what I want to see. I can make it match my goals. I can make it work for me. Or if I'm not aware, it can work all against me. I can spend a few minutes on the wrong device and then it's over with from there. All I'm seeing, or excuse me, I can spend a few minutes on the wrong video. And from there, it's just going to feed me an excess of that doesn't match what I want.
So, in other words, before we even grab our phones or cut on the television, it's almost like, not even almost, what you're saying is we have to be intentional on the
Yep.
front end before we even engage with these devices on what it is our intentions are for the day, how much productivity we want to have,
Yep.
almost what type of vibe or type of time we want to be on the front end. Because to your point,
Yes.
and this is what I believe you're saying, what we
Yes.
consume, especially quote unquote in the beginning, in the morning, can kind of dictate how our day goes.
Yeah, because it's going to dictate, it's going to set the tone for what the algorithm is going to show you all throughout the day. Now, the stuff that's trending big, right? It'll show up in anybody's algorithm just
Right.
because the content
Mhm.
is being pushed. That is that, right? And you have to be able to, again, know that the more time I spend on this particular piece of content, even if it's a trending, it's going to feed me more of the same content
Mhm.
just from a different page. And so I could end up making my algorithm or my feed the same stuff over and over again. And it could be
Mhm.
some stuff that I don't actually want to see, the same news story over and
Right.
over again. The other thing is when we talk about, responsibility behind this, I realized, and it was a while ago when this really like kind of, came to my attention vividly. I realized even in relationships and on the dating scene and socializing, people's conversation is based on what they done sat up and been fed through their phone. And
Mm.
so you realize, like, as I talk to people, dang, you could tell she been on Instagram and Facebook looking at the news stories that is feeding, because as we spark up conversation, that's all she want to talk about. Or you can tell he been watching the celebrities business because that's all he really kind of getting excited about as we conversate. And this
Right.
plays a role in even relationships at home. You find your spouse talking about the same sort of mindless stuff. Or like you said, you watch politics, you can tell like, okay, he's into a lot of that stuff and he's
Mhm.
probably taking in a lot of content from that. So it
Right.
affects your social life as well, and even your intimate relationships, your conversations at home.
It's interesting that you bring up the relationship piece because, my wife and I talk all the time about how different cultures report certain things. And in the dominant culture, in white culture, they have what's called, or what I refer to as, investigative journalism, right? Where
Mhm.
they really crack a new story and they get behind
Yeah,
the scenes to really get you to understand what's going on, whether it's politically or what have you, right?
right.
But then when it comes to our culture, I coined the term instigative journalism, right?
Yeah,
Where we create or come up with stories that don't solve issues, they just
yeah,
exacerbate already existing problems. You know what
yep,
I'm saying? And so it's
yep,
almost like attack dog, where we
yep.
instigate and create more problems than we're actually solving. Can you speak
Yeah.
to that?
Yeah, a lot. I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of times, I don't think we even realize we do it. It's become such a norm in our culture to
Mhm.
talk about stuff in a emotional or instigative way that you don't think the person is saying anything wrong, or you don't think there's anything wrong with us going back and forth, spending large amounts of time debating stuff that we haven't even fact checked, or
Right.
things that like one person told it from their emotional viewpoint, meaning they added their 2 cents or their perspective in instead of just
Mhm.
reporting the facts. And so you don't realize a lot of the things that we're disagreeing on or the different stances that we're taking is coming from the fact that, like you said, it's being conveyed or reported a certain way. And I really do think that, we got to get more real with this. We have to get in a space where we start to look at facts over feelings more. When certain things go on, let's do our research before we just decide to start talking about it. Because, for me, it turns me off when I start to watch something and you hear a lot of in my opinion, in my opinion, in my
Yeah.
opinion, but you don't hear a lot of during my research I discovered or in my experience with dealing with blah, what I concluded was you don't hear a lot of, hey, outside of what you told yourself in your mind, here is some data that you guys could use to develop your perspective on the conversation.
It's very little fact-based content.
Mhm.
It's a lot of like you said, emotional and opinionated content that we produce that always leaves an opening for a rebuttal. You
Yep.
know, that's why there's a constant back and forth, because to your point, it's not fact-based. It's oftentimes no research. They're
Yep.
going solely off of opinion and feeling. And so
Yep.
everybody has that. You know what I mean? And when you're not coming from a fact-based approach, then all it creates is chaos and confusion in
Yep.
arguments. That, to
And
your
wasted
point,
time.
and it becomes a waste of time. Even if there's a real underlying issue, you can never get to it because it's
Come on.
rooted in
Oh, come on.
opinion and feeling.
Yeah, listen, I love that you said like we can't get to the underlying issue. And I'm telling you, like, when I do my Zooms and I teach about healthy communication and things like that, one
Mhm.
of the things I recently talked about, and we don't even realize that, what we watch on social media influences this, but automatically as a survival, mechanism within our brain, our biology is wired for us to just pick up on patterns, right? Even when you see a small toddler, they're watching the adults that are raising them and they look for patterns, and that's what starts to make them feel safe. It's a part of you trying to survive. So the adult brain scans and picks up patterns automatically in lightning speed. And so, with that being said, I spoke to a group in a Zoom about how if you don't intentionally listen and look for the points in what somebody is saying, you will pay attention to everything else that just provokes feelings. So, for
Mm.
example, I watch people talk and you could see them worried about, okay, where we're at. Are we sitting up? Are we standing down? How they saying it? What's their tone? Who's around? All these things. And so you'll end up going in circles and back and forth about all the shit that has nothing to do with what the person was actually saying in
Mhm.
words. And I'm not saying these things don't matter, right? Because communication, you communicate in many different ways, not just through your words, but when you are trying to get to a landing point, when you're trying to get an understanding, whether it's in your personal relationship or even just debating a political point, you
Mhm.
have to have an intentional part or a conscious part of you that is willing to say, okay, even though I may not like the tone or I don't like that so and so's around, let me hear what this man is saying and really just look at the facts and what he is trying to articulate or get me to understand and respond to that, not flipping and we all off in left field going back and forth about something that had more to do with just the energy on the conversation, or like you said earlier, just us just watching stuff that it doesn't have anything to do with the landing point in the conversation.
It doesn't have anything to do with the landing point. So let me ask you this: do you think that social media is making us more emotional, more emotion driven, instead of
I
fact based in our conversation and also in our interactions with each other?
I think that individuals that are not off social media, that are not um in a space of managing their emotions. They're not self aware to a certain extent, and they don't have a sense of self outside of just the flesh. Yes,
Mhm.
I think it is hurting them. But for those that they understand more dynamics or dimensions about themselves outside of just what they see on an app and what they're being, fed, whether they're intentionally feeding themselves or not, when you have a certain sense of the different dimensions of yourself, certain things don't affect you the same way. So, for example, people that have a understanding that I exist for bigger reasons than just feeding my flesh, right? Than
Mhm.
just looking good, being intimate with the person that I'm with, eating good food and just the material and tangible items. Somebody that realizes that I exist for bigger than just walking this earth and dealing with those things.
Right.
Certain things don't penetrate them the same way as somebody that it is all about what shit looks like and what it feels like. So when you watch people that are just surface level thinkers, they don't have more than an understanding of, okay, here's what I'm thinking about, and then here's what I need or want for myself or what I feel like. These individuals will get moved emotionally so easily.
I see that happening more and more as social media becomes just more of a intricate part of our lives, right?
Mhm.
Give us some advice on what we need to be doing in regards to our children, because as we know, children don't have filters.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we as parents, we're not able to monitor as frequently as we should be our children's social media interaction. So what are some of the things that we need to be instilling in our children, you know what I mean, regardless of from the time they get a phone to the time that, you know, they're an adult, to really help fortify them on how to be able to keep away some of the distraction. We know that they're not going to be able to get rid of all the distractions,
Right.
but to keep it to a minimum, but keep the lion's share of the focus on the positive, healthy things that they need to be, you know, focused on going into adulthood.
Yep. So two things, right? At the root, two-way conversations with your children, even when they're, small and first learning how to talk about, what is in front of them, meaning screen time, for example,
Mhm.
responsibility behind these apps, let them know about certain laws and things that match just their age category. So to give you an example, a lot of young kids that are in elementary school and middle school don't realize if another kid sends you inappropriate photos to your phone, that is considered child pornography, and you can get in trouble even though it's not your pictures. You didn't ask for it to be sent. So these are things that a child can end up in spaces where they are receiving consequences or getting looked at a certain way with their reputation just because as parents we're not informing them. The other thing is, as you continue to nurture conversations with your kids centered around social media and electronic devices, fill their schedule up with real activities off of these devices. Because what happens is if my child is constantly busy with real life things, things that have to do with getting physical and getting out and being social off of electronics, the screen time will cut itself down because we're
Mhm.
doing things. So I'll give you an example. I have a daughter, and on top of going to school and doing Bible study and running track, she's also an equestrian, and then she also is an author, and she has other things that fill up her schedule that you only get certain amounts of time in between these things to get on your social media. So I don't ever have a concern about how long she's being on social media or how long she's on these apps because she ain't got too much time to be on there anyway. So when she
Anyway.
does, it's like, okay, she's getting her little screen time in.
Right. And so now, based on the real life things that you know she's involved with that don't involve a device, you can kind of manage on the front end, whether it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes. That's all she got throughout the course of the day, because her time is always, like you said, on positive, healthy things that you have been intentional on structuring her life around.
Yes, I time block with my children. So
Mhm.
I have another daughter, she plays golf. So on top of going to school, there's a lot of golf practice. There's a lot of, nurturing. Hey, if you're going to be on social media, let's create you a golf channel where when you're now playing golf, take videos of yourself,
Mhm.
upload them on your. So I give them a landing point on these apps to where there is some sort of intentional direction. With my daughter that does the horseback riding, her trainer, he sends her videos of other kids her age and people competing so that a lot of her social media algorithm sees her watching these videos that match her physical activities. And so
Mhm.
when you're online, it's reinforcing to get off the computer and get better at what you do outside of just being on the computer or the cell phone. And so these are things that the child doesn't even have to understand what you're doing. You just got to know, as I fill my child's schedule up with real life things, it makes social media less and less important. And when we're grown, you realize this as adults. When I get real goals going on, when I set my life up where I have focus on other stuff than just scrolling, I realized that, hold on, I'm not spending so much time on social media. By the end of the night, it's like, dang, I ain't been on Facebook or Instagram all day. You
Oh,
realize maybe once you wind down and get home that, all day I've been being productive and I ain't even seen what was going on online. This will also help you realize who in your life is a distraction. Because after a while, when you're not online so much looking at BS, you will like be able to see clearly the people that call you and like, hey DJ, you ain't see what they talking about giving Diddy X amount of time for his charges, or you ain't see, and you're like, no, I ain't see that. Cause I ain't been just sitting on the app letting the algorithm feed me stuff. When I
exactly.
got on today, like you said, I looked at some stuff that was political, some things that went with the research I'm doing. I wasn't just on here watching celebrity business.
Right. And things that, like you said, don't move me closer or move us closer to our purpose and our goals. And for me, that's the main thing. One of the things that I've also noticed when it comes to social media, and this is I think another important point, is the dopamine effect that
Come on.
constant scrolling gives us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
Yes, and you can see it when um news stories come out that are delivered the way that you spoke on earlier, where
Mhm.
it's very instigative, right? You got to pick a side. And people love a
Right.
good
Always got to
fight
pick a
back and forth. So some celebrity business may come out, and then you can see people all over Facebook, Instagram, you know what I mean? Just they're even texting in their group chats like, y'all seen what happened with Cardi B, or y'all seen what's going on with so and so. And it's like they're getting such an excitement or a fulfillment out of
side.
this. And then on the back end, your credit messed up. You don't have multiple streams of income. There's no real focus for what you're doing with your life right now. Your children are struggling in math and reading in school. You don't own any assets. Like you're in a space where spiritually you're weak. Most
Mhm.
of what you do feeds your flesh, and yet you are so amped up and attracted to and excited about going back and forth with somebody on Facebook or Instagram or in a group chat about
Mhm.
what side you taking on who was snitching or who looked the worst with who told on who and what snitching really is, and you ain't even in the streets. It's mind blowing to see the excitement behind grown adults.
Right, right. And I remember when, when not even when I'm in the barbershop, right? And guys would get worked up and amped up, and it's not even something from back in the day. Like this is
Yeah,
right now today. They
yeah.
would get amped up and literally come to blows about football. You
Come
know what I
on.
mean? Or about sports. And
Yep.
now to your point, it's that 10x with the
Yeah.
way social media and the algorithm, to your point, is programming us to take a side. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
What
And
side
it
you on?
makes you
Are you
passionate.
or
Like
are
you
you
end up
on?
getting passionate.
We wind up getting back, and it's so subtle and so seductive. It's like people would call me, "Are you a Republican or a Democrat?" And I say, "I ain't none of this shit. I'm a
Right.
clear black man that I see
Right.
the game that's being played from both sides. I
Yep.
ain't. I look. I'm not on Thug side. I'm not on Lucci side.
Right.
I know both of them was on the nigga frequency, and when you own that frequency, your
It
ass
ain't
ends up
nothing
in
you
prison.
can. Yep. Come
You
on.
see
Oh,
what I'm
you
saying?
preaching.
It's all a setup. So I ain't picking no
Yes.
side. Because at the end of the day, we be losing.
Yep.
We be
Yes. You
losing.
you you know
Both sides be losing.
my biggest thing, because you said a mouthful. My biggest thing with the really just the context behind this type of conversation is that look,
Mhm.
those that are like on a higher vibration or vibrating at a higher frequency, those of us that we understand we exist for more than just the shit that excites our flesh,
Right.
we know how to speak on these type of topics like some of the ones you just named, and speak on it as just a topic. It's just a surface level topic. I don't
It's
need
a
to get
surface level topic.
deep and passionate, and I don't need to overexert myself. I damn sure don't need to go into my feelings and come to blows with somebody or name call or
Right.
start to treat you different as a human in the real world over
In the
some
real
shit that
world.
don't affect our world at all.
At
Because
all.
most of the people that are, you know, severely concerned about this stuff, it's not even at their front door.
It's not even at their front door. And to your point, their children are struggling in school. Their finances and credit is fucked up. You know what I mean? Like you said, they don't own any assets, so they got much more tangible things to be concerned about
Come on.
instead of the distractions that don't affect their life at all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But to your point, love, and I'm so glad for this conversation. It is so easy for us to get tricked
Yeah.
for
Oh, come on.
years. We don't even realize how much
Yep.
time we've wasted
Yep.
consuming content that does not even move us forward.
Yes. And it reinforces, it perpetuates the same nigga thoughts. Just like you
That's
said,
it.
it puts you in that mode where, I talk to so many people, DJ, and they want to get out that mode. They screaming to get out of it, but they don't know how because their environment is so supportive of them nigga thoughts. It's so supportive of them chasing the bullshit. It's so
Mhm.
supportive of them watching the stuff that just makes them believe more and more that the shit that don't matter really matters.
It, it
And when you
it-
look at a lot of people that for years they've been trying to accomplish certain goals that you and I know, if you buckle down for 4 to 6 months, you can tackle the shit easily, right? It might be uncomfortable, but you can get it done. You're
right.
just not seeing that you in your own way because of
Mm.
what you allowing into your mind, into your life. And then this is when it gets spiritual. You don't realize that like I have turned into an adult, that I'm no deeper than feeding my flesh. I eat what tastes good to make my flesh feel
Yeah.
good. I listen to what, like you said, gives me that spike of dopamine in the moment, and I chase that nonstop. I talk to people that reinforce me staying in this comfort or complacency mode, which just helps my flesh feel better. It does not fulfill you long term in regards to your life goals or your purpose. And I'm gonna tell you, it's dangerous for black men.
Especially so. Especially so. And
It's
to
so
your point,
dangerous.
if we are not intentional, and I will go so far as to say, if you are following anyone on social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, or what have you, and this person's content is not moving you closer to your
Come
goals,
on.
you have to ask the question, why am I following them? And
Yep.
really, you need to be unsubscribing, to be honest,
Yes.
because to your point, that's going to be a constant battle that you don't even have to fight. If
Yep.
you can just ask yourself that simple question, is this
Yes.
person content, or is this person a reflection of where I want to be?
Come on.
You see,
Come on.
and then to the second point, is their content moving me toward furthering my purpose and my goals? If it's not that, then what you doing?
Yeah, listen, I love this conversation. This is so important for our culture to really just hear us talk about it. And, hopefully it sparks some of y'all to go back into your own family circles and social circles and have this conversation. But I'll tell you, I had an experience with, a family member of mine where they talked about their baby mama reached out to them and wanted to do a birthday party for the child,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to do it just like Ari did for her son. So, Ari Fletcher, the celebrity
Right.
that's with Moneybag Yo, right? And the idea was the family member was telling me, look, we don't have the money for nothing like that. It don't match realistically to how her and I get along, meaning that we haven't even been on decent co-parenting terms to say let's plan some sort of expensive birthday party and mimic some sort of celebrity. But this person had watched this celebrity so much that you've convinced yourself in a delusional space that you're able to go duplicate this, and it matches nothing about real life. And then watch this. Remember, you brought up the emotion centered around
Mm-hmm.
this. Now, in real life, when the person that you asking to do this with you meets you with facts that look, baby mama, we ain't on terms to be doing this kind of thing. We don't
Right.
have the finances like they do to even do it. And so the answer is no. The person upset. Now it's a beef. It's a you can't see your child. It done trickled over into real life stuff
Real
that's
life.
detrimental to the upbringing of the child, to the relationship of the family unit, all because you done watch social media over and over again and watch these people do parties for their kids in the most extravagant ways. And you
Yeah.
ain't putting in no work to make your finances match that or have any financial conversations with your kid's dad
Right.
to see if this is feasible for him, let alone you. And now you're emotional about it not happening. It becomes downright weird. I don't know
It,
no other way to explain it.
it's really psychotic when you get right
Come
down to
on.
it. When you look at the issues that we be facing, we will spend, and I'm saying we, just speaking in terms of black people in general, we will go, to your point, broke on these entertainment based parties and not even have life insurance. You know what I mean? And gotta set
Listen.
up a GoFundMe when somebody pass away. You know what I mean? When we have totally gotten away from the practical things, the day-to-day
Yes.
things that when life be lifing, that
Yeah.
keeps us from having to, put hat in hand and beg the community damn near so that we can bury somebody. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And this is the other thing I wanted to ask you, because when you brought up the fact that these types of situations, when a person is not rooted in things that are real,
Come on.
create emotional disturbances, it's
Yes.
almost like they can socially induce a level of depression
Come
on
on.
us through social media.
Come, you preaching. I'm telling you, that's exactly what it is. You get in a space where you see this shit so much. I have witnessed homes be divided over one spouse or both watching social media or the internet enough to where they're telling themselves that they deserve what someone else has that doesn't match the reality of what's going on, and it ruins their household.
It ruins their household because
Because you come home believing that, oh, I ain't finna be doing 50-50 too much longer, or oh, you need to be buying me this, or when it's my birthday, or the man coming home believing that because he watching some podcast where it's talking about, like we spoke on before, men going and getting women from other countries
Other
because they
countries, yeah,
listen different.
passport
And so
bros.
now he home trying to treat his spouse in a way that these dudes on this podcast done described that they wise behavior they done went and got from somewhere and bought and paid for, so to speak. And now you at home trying to make your woman accept these values. It ain't even your values. They just been programmed into you because you sit up and watch this particular podcast or this content, this set of content enough.
And we become engrossed in it to the point to where if it's not reflective of our reality, we begin to feel less than.
Come on.
That's
Come
the
on.
dangerous part, especially
Yes.
with our women. If you
Yes.
can't wear this, if you
Yep.
can't, if your body ain't shaped like this, you
Yep.
begin to internalize these feelings of I'm less than, I'm lesser
Yep.
than. And then whatever man you with, if you with a man, he gonna catch pure hell because
Yep.
he ain't even in your mind helping you get to the next level. You see what I'm saying? Based on what you're being fed, that ain't even real.
I have a philosophy, and I share it with many people. And to give an example, to like articulate my philosophy into like a full, vivid picture, I often talk to women, our sisters, our females, about cosmetic surgery, right? And I am a supporter of women improving upon whatever they can about themselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to be that person that they want to be, boost their self-esteem, become a better person, right?
Right.
But I often see women trying to impress or level with other women that they see online. They go and they have surgery. They do no other work on themselves in their life to improve their character or anything else, and they come back with the BBL or the nice shape, and then they get treated by men the same way they was getting treated before the BBL. It's just now happening 10 times faster because you're attracting men faster than you were when you looked how you
You
looked
had
with
to
your
right.
whole body. And then
You're
it
original
tears their
body.
self-esteem up worse than before they got the surgery, because it's like, with my old body, I can tell myself that I got treated or my relationships went the way they went because my body wasn't on point. I go get my body on point, and men are still dogging me out, lying to me, treating me a certain type of way. And so that beats you down even more self-esteem wise, because it's like, damn, I thought this was going to get me better treatment. Maybe internally, I do deserve this type of treatment. And so it starts to mess with you psychologically until you realize, I got to go work on my character. I got to go work on my standards. I got to go work on my real life goals to where I require a man to come in and treat me different. It ain't the BBL that's going to get me treated with love.
Love. I look at this BBL phenomenon, and this is what I've kind of reduced it to. The BBL is the black woman's cheat code to get to the front of the line with the class of men that she feels she deserves, right? That 10% or that 5% of men that the 95% of women, black women, are clamoring for. The BBL is the cheat code to help her get to the front of the line, only to experience, to your point, being dogged out even
The
more.
same, oof,
Because
the
like
same,
you
just
said,
times 10.
you never poured into yourself. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? You never really examine. And then number two, the BBL at this point is totally sexualized. You see, it
That's
serves
why you're
no.
getting it 10 times more. Because if you want to attract men, go sexual, right? The problem is the men of substance aren't drawn to the things that just lead with sexual. And
With
so
sexual,
to,
right?
to the point of what you're saying, when you talk to the men that are just higher value men, and I ain't talking about by way of their earnings, I'm talking about really having a deeper sense of where their power lies as a
Absolutely.
man, integrity, character. These men in no way, shape, or form describe their ideal type as somebody with a big booty. That's not one of the first things that they say, the
Not at
second
all.
or even one of the 10th, the first 10 things they say. It's
Not at
not
all.
on that list of things to verbally articulate if you were to ask them, what kind of woman are you looking for?
Exactly. No, and you would think that a woman that is willing to spend tens of thousands of dollars on her body would have done at least some precursory research to realize the men that I'm really looking for aren't interested in that. Or if they are, that's so far down the line to where
Yep.
it doesn't even matter. Like you said, it ain't even in the top 10, 15 things that really turns a man on that got some business about himself. You see
Yep.
what I'm saying? And then
Yes.
those things that are important are well within your wheelhouse to correct.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
How in other words, developing your mind, developing your character, because it doesn't matter to me. And I say this all the time. It doesn't matter how good your body look. If your character is poor,
Yes.
you ugly as hell.
Yes. And you know, I'm gonna tell you something. Women, we talk about all the time. We're not shy with it online about what our preferences are. I want a tall man. I want a guy like this. I want a this like this. And it seems to, you know, ruffle our feathers a lot when men articulate what they do or don't want, right? And so when you hear men start to talk about, regardless of how your body look, if your character or you can't be my space of peace, or I can't really connect and talk to you as my spouse, you know, when I'm fucking up, if we can't conflict resolve through it, I don't want you. A lot of women get offended by y'all just even saying that this is y'all standard or y'all preference. But I feel like we need to embrace it more, because then, you know, more of us will realize I can go get the BBL, but I need to spend some time looking at how I am with my character in regards to conflict or uncomfortable conversations. How am I with my everyday management of my attitude, or do I blame everything on my hormones and my period, right? That you just got to kind of accept that I'm nasty at times, or attitudish or rude. And even when I talk about this by way of relationships, I think about the children often. There are so many children in our community that they growing up trying to navigate their mama's attitude. They
Mm.
really just learning how to survive and read the emotions of the single mother that's raising them to figure out what's okay to do, what's not okay to do. Is she gonna be mad? Well, let's wait till she lay down. Then we can ask her, can we have this
Or
or do
wait till
this?
she on the phone on social
Yes, wait
media.
till she on the phone and she distracted, and then we can ask for this. And they spend most of their upbringing trying to figure you out as the parent and how to navigate with you. Then when they get 17, 18, it's mom, you can tell me how to do this. Mom, the lady said this, you think I should do? It's like there's no ability to really be aware of what they're capable of, because they
Mhm.
spent most of their upbringing trying to navigate your emotions, your personality, your feelings, your
Mm.
deficiencies, and the insecurities that come along with it.
You know, and to your point, even when we as young men are old enough to date, we begin to associate the chaos and confusion that comes with having to try to figure that out with love.
Yes.
We because that so much reminds us of our childhood, and we begin to think all women are like this. And there's too
Yes.
many men that think that the
Yes.
toxicity that a lot of our women have is normal.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because they
Yeah.
don't know what life is like in terms of a healthy, whole interaction with a grown woman. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Starting with their mothers. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So because they've jumped, been raised in a household, to your point, it's totally unfair for whether it's a young boy or a young girl, have to now live their life navigating around their mother's emotional
Yes.
challenges. It's like you ain't even got time to be a child.
Yep. Yep. You're 100% correct. And I worry for our youth, because not only is it messed up during their upbringing, but it follows them as they get older. I was talking
Mhm.
to a brother this week, and I was explaining to him he was having issues with the female he was dealing with, and I pointed out to him, I'm like, you see her attitude, and he was like, yeah, she upset. And I'm like, listen, I don't know if you can tell, but as a woman, I can see that she don't want to be in that space, but I can tell she don't really know how to navigate and pull herself out of it. And I can
Mhm.
tell that you think, like you said, DJ, that this is normal, right? He's thinking like, oh, she'll work through it. And when me and him talked more, he watched his mama have to sit at home and pull herself out of moods like this. But if she
Mhm.
has you, bro, go give her a hug and
Go give
just
her a
tell
hug.
her it's gonna be all right.
Yep.
Show, and a lot of women want this, what I'm describing. Meaning, even though I'm upset, right? It could be at you, it could be at whatever. Like, don't leave it where you buy this idea that, like your mom, I'm good with this attitude space I'm in, this anger, and I want to sit in it. So,
Right.
long story short, I had him go give her a hug. Because at first he was like, man, she don't want to talk to me. She don't want to. You just go give her a hug.
Yeah.
Give her a hug, and whatever come over your heart when you hugging her, say that to her and
Let
just leave
that
it
be
at
what
that.
it
And
is.
it pulled her out of all the bullshit that was swirling around, because it wasn't real anyway.
It
It was
wasn't
just
real.
a temporary mood. And a lot of times as women, we behave like this, thinking that it is the right way to be. And then if you alongside a man that grew up watching his mom do this, he'll let you just kind of live in that. And this becomes the norm of y'all relationships. You get upset, you walk around in attitude energy. He kind of lets you sit in it. Nobody's really trying to resolve or talk through it from a mature space because we ain't got the tools. And
We
it
ain't got,
just becomes the norm.
yeah, unfortunately, and to your point, that becomes our regular way of interacting with each other.
Yes.
We happen to come across not even someone who's totally whole, but on the track record or on the path of becoming whole, truly desiring to level up, right? And we come into relationship with that person, two things are going to happen. We're either going to immediately leave the relationship, or we're going to realize that there's so much work that we have to do to
Yeah.
even be. Because one thing about it, a person who's on the path of becoming whole, they don't have time for a person who is not on that same type of time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes. Yeah. You
yeah,
don't got to be fixed, but if
you
you
ain't got,
ain't even heading in that direction.
if you ain't even trying to be fixed, or if you can't even see that anything's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
what are we doing at that
Yep.
point?
Yep.
We're not. It's like oil and water. We'll never mix. And so, to your point, in terms of the algorithm, that thing will either feed your dreams or
Yep.
create so many distractions in your life
Yep.
where you will never be able to get out of the hole.
And it will program your mind to just focus on what makes my flesh feel better. Same thing I was just
Yeah.
saying about relationships. It's to the point where I see so many couples and family units that have children that they're raising that will be our future leaders or fellow people in the community as we get older. I see them just operating in this dysfunction as if it's a norm. And so you'll see men that'll be like, hey bro, you headed to the house? Nah, I ain't going home yet. My wife upset, like so I'm gonna just let her, and it's like I'm gonna just let her sit in that until she come up out of it. Like how I used to see my mama just, it wasn't no man at the house, so my mama used to
Amen.
just sit in,
So
and eventually
what
she
I got
came
to
up.
be there for?
Yeah, so it's like I'm intentionally staying away until I know she done wind down and lay down. Same thing like we said with the kids with their mama. The boy learned this from growing up, and now he's a grown adult behaving this way with his spouse. You know she upset, you know she bothered by stuff, and it's like I ain't going home. And so if you ask the man separately, bro, it ain't no peace at home. You ask the woman, it's like he ain't home and he don't care. And it's a simple conversation where a couple lines can be articulated, not to resolve the whole thing, but
Yeah,
just to have a better understanding of what we do, what we going through,
yeah.
and that it's not normal.
It's not. It's not normal. And social media will trick us into believing that
It's
this
normal.
level of toxicity is acceptable. You know what I mean? And so we will lose the interest of even trying to correct certain behaviors. It's like
Yeah.
my wife and I, we oftentimes joke, she'll send me memes and I'll send her memes of certain things on Instagram where
Mhm.
it's primarily like female levels of toxicity, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be like this cat drinking wine, and it'll say, after I spent all day nagging my husband because this and this and
Right.
that, and I just simply needed a hug. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we
Yes.
create conversations around this stuff.
Yes.
You know what I mean? To be like, you know what? We see this happening so much in relationships because men, we are so fearful of engaging an upset woman because it
Yep.
reminds us of our mothers. You better
And,
get
and,
to
and
your
as women, we are so that, my personal opinion, I believe that social media and what we watch often plays a role in us believing that this is okay as women. But we
okay.
have now normalized the
Yeah.
resting bitch face, the attitude mode, the treat a nigga a certain kind of way. Don't let them in. Don't be vulnerable. Don't be sweet. Do these niggas how they do you. To the point where now when you look at the shows like Baddies and stuff where we beating each other up, it's almost like a cute thing to walk in the room and mug other women and
Right.
just we're embodying that like it's a part of our culture, and this ain't us. If you go back historically to what
Yeah.
really
It's never been
allowed us to thrive, it was none of this shit.
love. Let me ask you this question, and I know we're winding down.
Mhm.
Is the sisterhood being systematically destroyed by
That's
the
how I feel.
algorithm and social media?
That I truly believe that by way of what is constantly put in front of us about how women should behave. And
Hmm.
so the content doesn't have to say, hey, women behave like this. Similar to what goes on in politics, and when we saw a lot of people being destroyed and murdered by, the system and things like that.
Mhm.
As women, when we go online and we see that they constantly make shows and content centered around us whooping each other's ass, pulling each other's wigs off, talking about each other, poking at each other because you don't have an ideal relationship or the support that you need. Like when I see, and we're not having conversations about around the real issues, you have to know that there's an agenda, right? That is keeping us focused on this, or distracted, I should say, with this, while the things that matter are being overlooked. Because as women, we are, especially in our community, the ones that are the first teachers to our children of what
Right.
to value. And so when you take young kids watching their mama sit up after work and look at baddies and different shows where it's just about beating up each other and beating each other down, the children then get their first experiences with what I should look at online. And then it
Yeah.
starts to really mold them into little thinkers. And they're going to think
Oh, yeah.
about the stuff that they believe is important. Is what I see my parents watching, what I see my parents engaging in. And then similar to me and you, when we growing up, you heard your mama or whoever was raising you in there on the phone. If all, as women, if all we're watching is other women be catty with one another and
Yeah.
fights and shit, that becomes the context of what we're talking about on our phone calls. So the
Yeah.
child can hear you in the room laughing with your sister or your girlfriend about, girl, you see what happened on the last episode? Yeah, child, she beat her ass. And it just turns into like, dang, this what excites my mama.
Love you. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part two on this topic, because it's so many other things that are coming to me as I'm listening to you share.
And please make note of them if you got to write them
Yeah,
down.
I mean, as soon as we get off, I'm getting them back in my notebook. But this is what I wanted to say to your last point. Men operate, and I just say in terms of hypothetically, me and your husband, right? We are
Mhm.
both men. There's already an unwritten rule that when men interact, this is why we as men, there's a baseline level of respect that we all give each other. We
Mhm.
ain't had no meetings. We ain't shared no emails, no
Yeah.
post-it notes, because we know as black men, whenever you're dealing with another black man,
Yeah. It
there
could
is
go.
always the
Yes.
potential of violence, right?
Yes.
So you're going to get a baseline level of respect off top. Why?
Yeah.
Because ain't nobody just looking for that.
Yeah.
But I don't see that with black women, love.
Nope.
I
And
don't. I see
nope.
black women running to conflict,
Yep.
running into physical altercations with not just other black women, black men.
Yes.
And this thing is
Yes.
actually frightening to me.
Yes. As a black woman, I'm telling you, it scares me. And the reason why is because I'm watching massive amounts of my sisters engage in this and accept this as okay behavior,
It's
to the
okay.
point where when I speak out against it, they almost look at me like I'm crazy.
Like you crazy because you ain't running to conflict with another black woman. Well, we know love ain't gonna do that, because love gonna psychoanalyze and damn clinically analyze everybody just based on, as soon as you open your mouth, sis, she already know how you coming. You
And
know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna tell you, DJ, once I started really educating myself on psychology, it gave me more humility. I see
Yeah, yeah.
past the behavior I see in front of me.
The
And I
surface
feel like
level.
as men, even men, as men elevate, you got ones that even if a dude does, step past the respect level and doesn't extend them the bottom level respect that you're talking about,
Yeah.
men that are operating on a higher frequency won't just react because he
No,
tried them.
no.
They will analyze, like, is this brother going through something? Do I need to, protect myself? Is he hurting? Like, because a lot of times it's more about them than it has anything to do with you as a person. So
Absolutely.
I've learned to really kind of see the inner child in people, so to speak, as they
Exactly.
behave
What
like
you're
kids
crying
while
out
being an
for,
adult.
because it's a cry for help oftentimes.
Yes.
And to your point, love, we as men, we can oftentimes walk away because we're not, caught up in our ego or caught up in, looking back. Oftentimes, as long as there's no women around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for, now the challenge
Yes.
comes when you do it around other women, and especially our
Yes.
lady, you know what I mean? Then it becomes damn near impossible for us to walk away. And not saying we can't, but
Yeah.
depending on the type of woman you got,
Come
she
on.
may not even let that shit
Come
right.
on.
It becomes a dagger. And I remember when and then of
Yep.
course you know how they save shit in the in the file. I remember when that nigga was in the store and he said this to you. You ain't even do shit. So you know
Yes.
what I'm saying? So that part becomes very difficult. But if it's just men, if it's like a one-on-one interaction, oftentimes we can walk away because we know that shit don't mean nothing and it ain't worth
Yes.
it. But I
Yes.
don't see enough women being able to walk away from confrontations with
Yeah.
other
Because
women.
we're being programmed not to. And let me say this though. I don't believe that we are just victims of the algorithm. I
Mhm.
truly believe we do it to ourselves by not educating
By
each
not
other in the
educating
community
upfront.
about what the algorithm has the potential to take over in your life if you let it. It can work in
Mhm.
your favor when you on the conscious part of your brain have certain pieces of information where it pushes you to use this as a tool. And I'm gonna tell you for what you said about men, it's so important. Any fellas that's watching, pay attention to what the woman that you're with brings out of you. Whether it's your wife or you're in that process of vetting out, really develop a space of let me check, forget her, so to speak, in her behavior. What does being with her pull out of me? Because
Yeah.
to your point, DJ, I remember times where, me and my husband, I can see points where it's like, okay, I can see him going into that space where this dude pushing him to that point or trying to take him there. And for me, now I'm finna be the voice that pulls you in a completely different direction.
Right. The
To
voice of
me, I'm gonna give you the
Mhm.
verbiage, whisper in your ear. It's sexy how you ain't letting none of that affect nothing we
Okay.
got going on. Cause
And,
I
and,
need you
and,
here.
and he know at the end of the day what he going home to. It ain't
Yes, and,
worth it.
and when just like you said, it's almost I don't want to say another level of confidence, but almost another l- grounding under him to know that like the female I got next to me, in no way, shape, or form do she want to see me man up or bow up and engage and crash out with you.
That's
It
gonna
don't
trick
matter
me
what you
off the
said or
street
did.
and out of her
Right.
life and out of my children's life. And so this is a woman, to your point, that's here to help me win. And she's
Yes.
going to do everything in her power to continuously position me in that direction. Even when I'm operating outside of in my ego or
Yep.
having a moment
Yep.
to be the voice of reason, just like I need to be the voice of reason for her
Yes.
during those trying times. And so we becomes each other's helpmeet in a real sense, but it's just not enough of us that really got that really coming
Yeah.
with that baseline level of number one, desirous of being whole. And so
Yes.
to your, we're easily distracted. And when we allow ourselves to just fall into the rhythm of the algorithm, we behave in ways, to your point, that are
I
detrimental.
like that. I like that. Not following the rhythm of the algorithm. I love it.
Yeah.
This is such a needed conversation. It's a topic that I feel like every household should have because every household got computers, phones, devices, and them devices got social media on there. It
Yeah.
has YouTube and different apps that allow you to interact with other people that are hundreds of thousands of miles away at times. And you have to really understand everything that's on here that's showing up ain't for me. I get to decide what's for me. I don't let the
Mhm.
apps tell me what's for me.
As we wrap up, love, I want to go back to something that you said on in the first 15 minutes of our conversation, and I think needs to be reiterated. Being intentional for where your mindset is when you wake up and what your goals are and what your
Yes.
objective is during the day. Can you speak to that as we close?
Yes. Use social media, use any of your apps as a tool to reinforce what type of person you want to be, what type of values, what type of character you want to have. So
Mhm.
going back to myself as an example, right now, again, I'm on a health and fitness journey, really pushing myself to the next level. And so if you pick up any one of my phone devices, all you gonna see is different men and women, couples, and they exercise and they talking about their diet. They showing, what foods has the most protein or where they get, this particular low calorie diet recipes
Mhm.
from. All you're going to see is stuff that feeds what I just told you I'm on right now.
Mhm.
Also, I've been working on a lot of stuff with my cafe and some financial things with investing. So you're going to see some investment content come up. You're going to see some content about showing different designs on other cafes and things like that. So my algorithm works in my favor. And so outside of the viral news stories that I intentionally swipe past fast, just so it doesn't feed me more, you're going to see what I'm on right now. So I
Right.
couldn't even lie to you about what I'm interested in right now. You just look at my phone, DJ, just open up my social media. You're gonna be like, oh, okay, I see what she
See what
trying to do.
you
Okay, love, you trying to lose weight, you trying to do, you gonna read me like a book.
right.
And it's good that it's like that. But now think about, I want everybody to just, after you watch this episode, think about how we would view you and what we would come up with as far as what you're on if we looked at your social media right now, as far as what would show up in your feed. What
You
would we
know
see?
what we because actually that, like you said, the algorithm is going to tell on you, and there's three
Yes.
things that my wife and I always talk about that tell on us: our phone or our devices, our closet, and our
Yeah.
refrigerator. Those
Yes.
three things gonna tell
Yes.
what type of time we on every time.
Yes.
Every time. Thank
Yes.
you, love. Thank you so
No,
much.
thank this
Hey,
was a much needed conversation. I'm ready for this
no,
episode to come out.
we're gonna do a part 2 to this because there's some spiritual things that I know that you touched on that I
Yeah.
definitely want to go deeper into in our
Yes.
during the next conversation. So, family, appreciate you tuning in, and if you like this content, subscribe and support, share.
Yes.
Let's keep it going. We may be virtual for a while, y'all, but it's going, as you can see, it's the same energy. And sis, don't miss. Thank you,
Yes,
love.
stick with us. I love it, DJ. I love the conversation. It was great to get back in your energy. And tell the missus I said, hey.
And again, give my regards to the king as well. And y'all definitely be safe. And we'll do it again soon.
Yes.
All right, sis.